We've got the headlines for you at the top of the hour at 7 o'clock. But right now, here on Breakfast, it's time to get the news, the travel and weather from our teams around the UK. See you in a moment.
A very good morning. Welcome to BBC London. I'm Thomas McGill. The parents of a group of deaf children have criticised a school in East London for what they say is a failure to support their children's special needs. They attend Culloden Primary in Poplar, which has 28 children who are deaf, but the school doesn't have any fully qualified specialist teachers after 2 members of staff left. It's now trying to recruit, but said there is a national shortage of teachers with the right skills.
I've been very consistent in terms of getting her the right support, and I feel like now, since she's been in the school, it's a huge letdown for her because she's not getting that right support. She should have been progressing. She should have had some kind of communication by now. It's really delayed.
Plans to pedestrianise Oxford Street have again been proposed by London's mayor. Previous schemes have been, but this time says he's had the backing of the government, which will designate a mayor's development area. He hopes the project will make Oxford Street the leading retail destination in the world. And there will be more on this story on BBC Radio London across this morning. Blood samples at a London hospital could soon be delivered by drones. Medics at Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Foundation Trust will run a pilot scheme where drones will be used to courier blood samples between hospitals. This starts this autumn and is expected to last 6 months. Now, a 500-year-old knitted hat has been found by a mudlarker on the Thames foreshore. Experts say the Tudor hat has been preserved because of the mud in the river. It's due to a new exhibition opening at London's Museum Docklands next year. First, anyway, that takes us a look at how the tube is running this morning. So far, the overground is partly suspended, but otherwise there's a good service across the rest of the network. And that takes us to the weather with Kat.
Hello there, good morning to you. Well, another very settled day out there today. A lot of dry weather around with lengthy spells of sunshine. High pressure centred over the UK, which is to drift northeastwards out into the North Sea, but still dominating our weather through much of this week. So plenty more sunshine on the way. So any early mist and fog will lift this morning. As the day progresses, there'll be good spells of sunshine around. It stays largely dry, but a little bit breezier. Those winds will pick up through this afternoon, and we're looking at highs of around 21 degrees. So through this evening, we'll start off with clear spells, but by the end of the night, quite a bit of clouds starting to drift in from the east. Temperatures under that cloud will fall away to around 12 to 13 degrees, actually a milder night than the night we just had. Into Wednesday, it's going to be a breezy day widely, but still good spells of sunshine once that cloud clears early on, and temperatures Wednesday, Thursday up to around 24 degrees.
And that's it from me. There's more on the BBC News app and on BBC Radio London. I'll be back with you though in half an hour, but for now let's go back to John and Sally. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with John Kay and Sally Nugent.
Hello, it's 7 o'clock. Here are headlines. A 22% pay rise for junior doctors. The government says the deal is key for the NHS, but medics warn of further action if wages don't keep up with inflation.
Donald Trump describes hearing shots ring out during a suspected assassination attempt as police footage reveals the moment a gunman is arrested.
40,000 people in an entire Polish city are told to leave their homes as flooding overwhelms parts of Central Europe.
Not so fast. Police crack down on electric bikes modified to travel at dangerous speeds, as delivery drivers say they deserve better pay and conditions.
The kit, the batteries, the rear wheel and the hub, and this throttle that have been fitted is a kit he would have bought online. It's turned it into like a moped.
In sport, the wait is nearly over. 42 years on from winning the European Cup, Aston Villa return to the competition that produced their most famous nights in what will be a poignant evening for the club.
And another lovely day out there for the vast majority. Dry, reasonably sunny, but there's a few mist and fog patches again this morning, and from 1 or 2, a noticeable chill in the air. I'll have the details here on Breakfast.
Good morning. It is Tuesday, the 17th of September. Junior doctors in England have accepted the government's offer of a 22% pay rise over 2 years, ending a dispute which prompted the longest strike in NHS history.
The Health Secretary, Wes Streeting, says the deal marks the first step in future-proofing the NHS. But the Doctors' Union, the British Medical Association, has warned of further action if pay doesn't keep track with inflation. To explain, here's our health editor, Hugh Pym.
It began in March last year, striking junior doctors on picket lines in England and demanding a pay rise of 35% to be phased in, which they said should compensate for inflation over more than a decade.
What do we want? Pay restoration. When do we want it? Now!
Some talks took place with the Conservative government, but that didn't stop 11 rounds of strikes over a total of 44 days. Soon after the election, the Labour government made an increased pay offer, which the Doctors' Union, the BMA, put to members, and they voted to accept.
We are bringing this current dispute of 2 years now to an end. It has taken far too long for the government to take any meaningful steps towards pay restoration. We are now in a process of turning that tide, and I hope that we can continue to make that journey into the future so that doctors don't have to strike over pay again.
The offer included a backdated pay rise for last year of 4%, on top of an existing increase worth an average of 9%. And for this year, an additional 6% increase, topped up with an extra £1,000, which comes to around 9%. It overall adds up to 22%. The government says strike action by junior doctors cost the NHS in England around £1.7 billion. The Health Secretary welcomed the vote in favour of the deal.
The deal we've reached with junior doctors is fair for them, but crucially fair for patients and the taxpayer, because now we can draw a line under this bitter dispute, cut waiting lists and get our NHS not just back on its feet, but fit for the future.
NHS managers and patients will be relieved that further health strikes are off the agenda in England. Around 1.5 million appointments and operations were cancelled because of all industrial action by NHS unions since the end of 2022. The BMA, though, has argued that there's still a long way to go to compensate for past inflation, and their campaign isn't over. The Doctors' Union agreed a pay deal with the Scottish Government last year, and there weren't any strikes. Junior doctors in Wales have voted in favour of a pay offer. There's an ongoing dispute in Northern Ireland. Hugh Pym, BBC News.
Well, our chief political correspondent, Henry Zeffman, is at the Liberal Democrats conference where the leader there, Sir Ed Davey, is expected to talk later on about NHS funding. And Henry, we've heard a lot from the Lib Dems about the NHS and about health, haven't we?
Morning, Sally. Yes, that's right. It's been their focus right through the 4 days of this party conference and, in fact, right through the general election that took place earlier this year. And so it's going to run through Sir Ed Davey's speech as Liberal Democrat leader today as well. We're told that he's going to say, we know that fixing the NHS will not be easy. The Conservative government broke it so badly over so many years, but we also know that it must be done. We will offer people hope on health. Now, that word hope, I'm told, is a bit of a jab at this new Labour government, who the Liberal Democrats believe have been a little too gloomy so far. So that is a sort of way of differentiating themselves from the Labour Party, but mostly it is going to be an attack on the Conservatives, from whom the Liberal Democrats won so many of their seats at the general election. And Ed Davey is going to say that over the coming years, when it comes to the Conservative Party, he wants to finish the job. But look, when it comes to health, this is a reminder, this deal with the NHS and with the junior doctors, that the Labour Party won 404 MPs compared to the Liberal Democrats' 72. So when it comes to health, when it comes to other issues, the Labour government is going to decide what happens, and what the Liberal Democrats are going to do in response is a question for them to find an answer to in the coming years.
Henry, thank you very much indeed. That's Henry Zeffman in Brighton for us this morning. Now, John has more of today's news, and we have heard from Donald Trump overnight.
We have, Sally. Yeah, Donald Trump has been praising his protection team as he spoke publicly for the first time since being the target of another apparent assassination attempt while playing golf at his resort in Florida at the weekend. A 58-year-old man has now appeared in court in connection with that incident. Meanwhile, the White House says President Biden has spoken to Donald Trump to tell him he's relieved that he's safe. From the United States, here's our correspondent Peter Bowes.
Keep walking!
This is the moment Ryan Ruth was taken into custody. The 58-year-old was arrested shortly after fleeing from Donald Trump's golf club in West Palm Beach, Florida.
What's your name, boss? Ryan?
Less than 24 hours later, he was in court, dressed in a blue prison jumpsuit and facing multiple firearms charges linked to an alleged attempt to assassinate the former president. This is where he was confronted by a Secret Service agent while Donald Trump was playing a round of golf.
All of a sudden we heard shots being fired in the air, and I guess probably 4 or 5. And it sounded like bullets, but what do I know about that? But Secret Service knew immediately it was bullets. And they grabbed me, and we got into the carts, and we moved along pretty good. I was with an agent, and the agent did a fantastic job.
The agent fired at what investigators say appeared to be a rifle poking out of trees near the edge of the course.
Cellular data shows that the subject was in the vicinity of the golf course roughly 12 hours before the engagement with the United States Secret Service.
Investigators say they're still working on whether Ryan Ruth was acting alone. Kamala Harris said violence had no place in America, and she was relieved her election opponent was safe. But Mr. Trump blamed what he called her and the current president's rhetoric for what happened on Sunday and 2 months ago.
Take a look at what happened.
The former president first survived an assassination attempt while speaking at an open-air rally in Pennsylvania. Since then, security around him has been tightened, but the Secret Service says it needs more resources to do its job. President Biden says he's looking to see if further measures are needed to ensure the safety of Mr. Trump.
I've always condemned political violence. I always will in America. In America, we resolve our differences peacefully at the ballot box, not at the end of a gun.
The White House says Mr. Biden has spoken to the former president to convey his relief that he's safe. Mr. Trump later said they had a very nice call about Secret Service protection. Officials say security around Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home is now as intense as when he was president. There are 7 anxious weeks to go until polling day. Peter Bowes, BBC News, Los Angeles.
Here, the Labour MP Diane Abbott has accused Sir Keir Starmer of treating her like a non-person during the row over racist remarks made about her by the Conservative donor and businessman Frank Hester. A Labour Party spokesperson said the Prime Minister had great respect for Diane Abbott and that he had condemned Frank Hester's comments and had reached out to her to offer support. Mr Hester later apologised but denied he was racist. Well, Diane Abbott has been telling BBC's Newsnight programme that she had felt frightened at the time.
You'd feel that if somebody was threatening to have you shot, you would have felt that your party would have offered you more support, given you advice on safety and security, even kind of commiserated with you, and none of that happened.
You can see the full interview with Diane Abbott on Newsnight tonight on BBC Two at 10:30 and also on the BBC iPlayer. Universities are calling for a rise in tuition fees in England linked with inflation, along with more government support so the sector doesn't slide into decline. Students have been warned they may see cuts to staffing and courses as UK tuition fees are worth less than they used to be. The government says it will create a secure future for the sector. Traffic could be banned from Oxford Street under plans set out by the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan. The road is one of the world's busiest shopping areas with about 500,000 visitors on average each day. Westminster Council, which had previously proposed a £90 million redevelopment of Oxford Street, said the Mayor had only recently shared his plans. The American rapper Sean Diddy Combs has been arrested in New York on charges, according to authorities speaking to the BBC's US partner CBS. It follows raids on 2 of his properties in Los Angeles and Miami back in March as part of an ongoing investigation into sex trafficking by the authorities. Diddy has faced a series of allegations from sexual assault to abuse. He denies all the claims against him. Several countries across Central and Eastern Europe are dealing with more severe flooding this morning caused by Storm Boris. At least 18 people have died. In a moment, we'll speak to our Central Europe correspondent, Nick Thorpe, who's in the Hungarian capital, Budapest. First, though, let's speak to our Eastern Europe correspondent, Sarah Rainsford. She's live for us this morning in the city of Nysa in southwestern Poland, where 40,000 residents have been told to evacuate. Sarah, what's the latest there today?
Yeah, quite a dramatic night last night here in Nysa, where I am. Volunteers came out and worked through the night to fill the sandbags that you can see here all around me. They were stuffing these bags with sand and then forming human chains to bring them down to the embankment here, this section of the embankment in Nysa, where the mayor had warned that there was a danger that because the riverbank had collapsed essentially and was under such pressure from the water, they were worried that there was going to be mass flooding and that the town of Nysa could be completely flooded. Now, as you can see, there is this wall of sandbags here now, and in actual fact, the water level, although the river is still moving very quickly, it's still very swollen, the level has fallen back quite significantly over the last day or so, but there is a lot of pressure. There is a dam upstream which has burst its banks, and there is a lot more water, of course, in the system, putting pressure on the rivers, putting pressure on embankments like this right across this region. Here in Nysa, we did see people evacuating, heading over the bridge to higher grounds, taking little suitcases, dogs and cats with them, their pets, to go to safety. But it does seem this morning the sun has come out, the rain has stopped, and there is a little bit of optimism that perhaps the worst here in Nysa at least has passed. Although when the floodwaters in other places have receded, we have seen over the past couple of days absolute devastation, people who've lost everything and what they have left utterly covered in filth, in mud, and total ruin and destruction in their homes.
OK, Sarah, you stay safe. Sarah Rainsford there in Poland. We can also speak live to our Central Europe correspondent, Nick Thorpe, who's in Budapest by the River Danube. More sandbags there as they prepare in Hungary too. Morning, Nick.
That's right, good morning. As you can see behind me here, I'm on Margit Island in the middle of the Danube here in centre of Budapest, really, with the Parliament just over my right shoulder there. And here, as you can see, building sandbags there, 8 thick now. The river hasn't peaked here yet. We're expecting it to peak, the Danube, on Thursday at around 8.5 metres. It's already 9.5 metres further upstream in Bratislava in Slovakia, the capital of Slovakia. So here, a sense in this part of Hungary of bracing for the floods which are already affecting western Hungary and, of course, the lower Danube in Austria and in Slovakia this morning.
Thank you very much indeed. Clearly a crucial few hours, crucial few days ahead right across that region in Europe.
Really, really challenging time for those people living in those places that have been flooded. Let's think about the weather closer to home. Here's Matt, who can tell us what it's going to be like. It looks beautiful here, Matt.
It certainly does. Very quiet scene here compared to what's happening in Europe at the moment. Almost calm for some, though, this morning, as you can see here in northwest Wales. Beautiful symmetry to the sky there. Bit of patchy cloud around, but for many, it is going to be another fine day with a lot of sunshine developing. Dry for the vast majority as well. But where you've had the clear skies through the night, it is a bit chilly out there if you're about to head for your morning commute, especially across some southern parts of England and Wales. Temperatures just outside Banbury, close to around 2 Celsius at the moment. That's low enough for a touch of frost. Just outside Derry, Londonderry, we're at 17. Now, the reason we've got these higher temperatures to Western Scotland, Northern Ireland, there's a lot more cloud, and we've got some milder air pushing up on some southwesterly winds. That's the cloud which is producing the odd spot of light rain or drizzle. Away from that, a few fog patches, bit of high cloud around. The fog will clear by mid-morning. We'll continue to see a little bit more cloud feeding across East Anglia and the southeast compared with yesterday, but the vast majority, dry day, gentle winds across the country, and if anything, it will feel warmer than yesterday. Highs of 23 in parts of northern Scotland, 22 to the west of Northern Ireland. Now, as we go into this evening and overnight, the cloud in northern Scotland will continue to thin and break, with lighter winds here and across northern England, greater chance of a few mist and fog patches. But central and eastern England, a lot more cloud drifting in off the North Sea. That will keep temperatures up tonight, not as cold as last night. Chilliest conditions, southern Scotland, northern England, down to around 5 or 6 degrees. But it's here where we see the best of the sunshine tomorrow. Northern half of the UK, a lot more cloud to begin with East Wales through central eastern England. That will thin and break. Sunny spells again into the afternoon. And if anything, a little bit warmer still, 24 or 25 Celsius possible. Sally, John, back to you.
Matt, thank you.
Now, the union, which represents delivery riders, has said the pay model used by companies like Deliveroo and Just Eat encourages some couriers to ride on the pavement and illegally modify their electric bikes to travel at dangerous speeds.
Our reporter Tim Muffet has been out with City of London Police, who says it sees more than 300 illegally modified e-bikes since launching a crackdown last year.
It's ridiculous. They don't care. Once they get their delivery done, they don't care.
Sometimes they've got things in their ears, they've got earplugs in their ears, so they don't always hear you when you say, excuse me, be careful, because there's pedestrians and elderly people.
When you're paid per job, it pays to be quick. But breaking the rules can be dangerous.
I was walking along the pavement and somebody came on the pavement with a bike. They caused quite a lot of disturbance. You know, it's like the bikes have taken over.
Oh, I received an order.
Dior is a delivery rider.
So yeah, £3.21, so then I have to accept it. So
he does not condone riding on the pavement or riding too fast.
Right here.
But he does think delivery riders are underpaid.
That was 5 minutes.
Underappreciated.
From the hourly rate that we get paid.
And often under pressure.
If we're not quick, we can lose our jobs. We need to do 4 deliveries an hour to get the minimum wage.
And how possible is that?
It's not that easy. Sometimes you get paid less than £1 a mile.
Dior used to use an electric bike for his deliveries, but now uses a moped. He can travel further and hopefully earn more money.
Sometimes, and then I get to the customer doesn't pick up the phone, and then I have to wait 10 minutes. The customers think we earn enough, but we don't earn enough. We get shouted at. I've heard of people that got spat on. We want to continue to do our jobs, but we also want to be treated with respect.
At the moment, we're making like £6-7 an hour max.
Lewis delivers using his electric bike.
Sometimes I spend more money out than I'm making at the moment.
There's never an excuse, is there, for riding on the pavement or for going too fast?
For my safety and for the safety of the people, do not ride on the pavements, no.
Do you think they're giving everyone a bad name?
For sure, yeah. They shouldn't go on a pavement.
To be ridden legally on a public road, the motor on an electric bike must cut out when the speed reaches 15.5 miles per hour. You can travel faster, but the rider then needs to provide all the power. It is, though, pretty easy to buy conversion kits that'll transform an electric bike.
It's going up to 72.5 miles per hour. This is what we're dealing with. It's very, very dangerous.
The City of London Police is cracking down on e-bikes that break the law.
So if I lift the back wheel up, turn the throttle, this will go up to probably 25-30 miles an hour.
That gives us the power then to seize it, take it off the road.
We started in July last year. Since we started it, I can tell you now, this is the 326th illegal e-bike scooter that we've seized. I think people are doing this because it's easy. The kit, the batteries, the rear wheel and the hub, and this throttle that have been fitted is a kit he would have bought online. It's turned it into like a moped.
Modifying an e-bike to go very fast isn't itself illegal, as long as it's ridden on private land, not on a road.
We're finding a lot of the food delivery guys, they're starting to get the message.
In a statement to the BBC, Just Eat said it does not incentivise couriers to speed or take risks when delivering on our network. The safety of couriers and the public is a key priority. If we are ever made aware that a courier delivering on our behalf has acted in a way that does not uphold the standards we hope to deliver, including modifying e-bikes which is forbidden on our platform, we investigate and take action as appropriate, with zero tolerance for criminal behaviour. A spokesperson for Uber Eats told us, "We expect couriers to adhere to all applicable laws and regulations, including the Highway Code, and we do not incentivise couriers to complete deliveries within a certain time frame or set deadlines to complete a delivery." A Deliveroo spokesperson said, "We take our responsibilities seriously to ensure the safety of riders and the communities where we operate. During the onboarding process, every rider completes a programme of road safety guidance, and riders are required to use legal and roadworthy vehicles at all times. Dior's back from his delivery.
Basically, I earned $3.21, and it took me like, I think, 30 minutes.
He's a member of the IWGB union, which represents delivery riders and is calling for better pay and conditions.
We were the key workers in the pandemic, so we risked our lives so people would receive their groceries and everything, and now we get treated like dogs.
Dior is convinced that better pay would reduce the need for speed and remove the temptation felt by some riders to be risky and reckless. Tim Muffet, BBC News.
Well, we're joined now on the sofa by Monica Sigliano from Cycling UK, who represents cyclists and would-be cyclists for the future. Monica, can you understand why some couriers are choosing to soup up their bikes?
Yes, so I think there's different factors at play, but I think that they are being paid per delivery, paid generally pretty low wages. So if the faster you go, the more money that you're making. So it does make sense that they are incentivized to go faster, perhaps to ride on the pavement, perhaps to break the laws. That's not saying that's acceptable. And I acknowledge that as a pedestrian, if you're being passed close or too fast by a cyclist, that's really startling, especially if you've got a disability. So it's not acceptable behavior, but I understand why it's more common within the courier community.
And obviously it can be dangerous. What are the dangers?
There's obviously dangers to the riders, there's dangers to pedestrians, to other cyclists, and bikes that are modified to go faster, to be more powerful, also present more of a fire risk. So illegal e-bikes tend to also be less safe. So it's very important to get this right. And we've partnered with a few other organizations to launch the e-bike positive campaign, which explains to the public exactly what is a legal e-bike, what's a safe e-bike, and how do you use it safely.
Is it fair to say that the law hasn't really caught up with this sort of boom in e-bikes, that it's kind of happened and we've been less thinking, how do we deal with this? How do we regulate this?
You know, I would say the regulations are there. It's more the enforcement that isn't there. So you have lots of people that tend to buy either kits to convert their e-bikes or to chip them, which makes it go faster. It's not legal, but it's not being enforced. So I think that there needs to be more enforcement, particularly on the people who are selling these e-bikes or kits, knowing that they're not legal.
So for delivery drivers who are feeling the pressure to make more deliveries, you know, trying to earn more money, what message would you give to them?
Well, one thing that you notice is that when a company provides bikes, e-bikes or e-cargo bikes, to their couriers, provides them with training and pays them a livable wage, you don't see this kind of behavior nearly as much. So I would say taking greater responsibility for their riders is key.
It's not just the modified bikes, though, is it? I mean, getting messages this morning from people talking about courier drivers on the pavement, not having lights on, not being obvious enough. I mean, there are bigger safety concerns for the public too.
There are, and I would say another key solution to this issue is better street design. So many times cyclists in the UK have to either share traffic with very heavy, very fast, to share space with either heavy, fast-moving traffic, or to share space with pedestrians in mixed-use paths. Neither of those is ideal. So when cities build the infrastructure, build nice, wide cycle lanes, you see in those areas that cyclists are much less likely to use the pavement. It just drops right away.
Is that realistic, though? I mean, in our old, cramped British cities, there's often not much room, and councils don't have much money as well, do they?
No, the funding needs to come from the national government. It's the councils that implement it, and we've been seeing amazing examples of what can happen in London, here in Manchester, when they do build the infrastructure. And you also see a much more diverse group of people cycling, because children, older people, women, people from diverse ethnic communities are much more likely to cycle when they're physically protected from traffic.
Monica Sigliano from Cycling UK. Thank you very much indeed for coming in. Thank you.
Now, it's 7:25. Time to get the news, the travel and the weather where you are.
A very good morning. Welcome to BBC London. I'm Thomas McGill. Plans to pedestrianise Oxford Street have again been proposed by London's mayor. Previous schemes have been blocked, but this time Sadiq Khan says he has the backing of the government, which will designate a mayor's development area. He hopes the project will make Oxford Street the leading retail destination in the world. And there will be lots more on this story over on BBC Radio London across this morning. Now, in other news, parents of a group of deaf children have criticised a school in East London, claiming it's failing to support their children's special needs. They attend Culloden Primary in Poplar, which has 28 children who are deaf. But the school doesn't have any fully qualified specialist teachers after 2 members of staff left. It's now trying to recruit, but says there's a national shortage of teachers with the right skills.
I've been very consistent in terms of getting her the right support, and I feel like now, since she's been in the school, it's a huge letdown for her because she's not getting that right support. She should have been progressing. She should have had some kind of communication by now. It's really, really delayed.
Urgent blood samples at a London hospital could soon be delivered by drones. Medics at Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Foundation Trust will run a pilot scheme where drones will be used to courier blood samples between both hospitals. The scheme starts this autumn and is expected to last 6 months. Now, a 500-year-old knitted hat has been found by a mudlarker on the Thames foreshore. Experts say the Tudor hat has been preserved because of the mud in the river. It's due to go on display as part of a new exhibition opening at London Museum Docklands next year. And I wonder if they're going to wash it first. Anyway, that takes us to a look at the Tube and how it's running this morning. So far, the overground is partly suspended and there's minor delays on the DLR, but otherwise a good service. And on to the weather with Kat.
Hello there, good morning to you. Well, another very settled day out there today. A lot of dry weather around with lengthy spells of sunshine. High pressure centred over the UK, which is starting to drift northeastwards out into the North Sea, but still dominating our weather through much of this week. So plenty more sunshine on the way. So any early mist and fog will lift this morning. As the day progresses, there'll be good spells of sunshine around. It stays largely dry, but a little bit breezier. Those winds will pick up through this afternoon, and I'm looking at highs of around 21 degrees. So through this evening, we'll start off with clear spells, but by the end of the night, quite a bit of clouds starting to drift in from the east. Temperatures under that cloud will fall away to around 12 to 13 degrees, actually a milder night than the night we just had. Into Wednesday, it's going to be a breezy day widely, but still good spells of sunshine once that cloud clears early on, and temperatures Wednesday, Thursday up to around 24 degrees.
And that's it from me. There's more on the BBC News app and on BBC Radio London all morning. I'll be back with the very latest for London, though, in half an hour. Until then, good morning.
Hello, this is Breakfast with John Kay and Sally Nugent.
Coming up to 7:30. Thank you for joining us. Let's go back to our main story, shall we? Because junior doctors in England have accepted the government's offer of a 22% pay rise over 2 years, ending a dispute which prompted the longest strike in NHS history.
The offer included a backdated pay rise for last year of 4% on top of an existing increase worth an average of 9%.
And for this year, an additional 6% increase, topped up with an extra £1,000, coming to around 9% rise.
Overall, this means the offer totals around 22% over 2 years.
The government says strike action by junior doctors cost the NHS in England around £1.7 billion last year.
Now, despite its members voting to accept the offer, the British Medical Association has warned of further industrial action if pay does not continue to match inflation. Dr Vivek Trivedi, co-chair of the British Medical Association, joins us now. Morning to you.
Morning.
Thanks so much for coming in to talk to us. So this is the right deal, then?
This is the first step towards restoring pay, towards restoring the value, which is all that doctors have wanted since the beginning of this campaign. As you'll know, we've had huge pay cuts since 2008, but this marks a change in that trajectory. Doctors who were being paid just over £15 an hour before this offer will now be paid a little over £17 an hour. So it does mark an improvement, but the journey is not over.
The journey is not over. What does that mean?
So we've talked about medicine not being an attractive career. And in fact, that's part of the wording that Mr. Streeting will be suggesting to the DDRB, our independent pay review body, when they award our pay for successive uplifts. And we want to hold on to our doctors. We want medicine to be an attractive profession so that they don't escape to places like Canada and Australia and New Zealand. And this offer does not do everything in one go, but we've never asked for everything in one go. So as long as we continue on that journey, then we can inspire confidence for doctors to stay and to build back up our workforce so that we can bring healthcare back to a high-quality system that it used to be.
I'm interested you say that this is the first step. So are you now going to continue to negotiate for further pay increases, or are you now going to steady the ship and see where this lands?
Well, there's many other things to talk about with regards to doctors. We've heard about the Lord Darcy's report about reforms in the NHS. There's huge other issues that are affecting doctors' working lives. We will expect pay uplifts each and every year, as we have done in the past. And if those pay uplifts don't occur in a timely fashion and at the pace that our members have asked for to restore our pay, then that's when we'll be going to the government, we'll be going to Mr. Streeting and saying, you wanted to inspire confidence in this process. This hasn't inspired confidence in this process. What can we do to alleviate that? And if those communications break down, then we will be thinking about going back into dispute and striking again if we need to. But that's always a last case resort and something we don't want to have to do.
There'll be people watching this morning who had delays to their treatment and operations over the last year or so of strikes, who will hear you're getting a 22% pay rise and you're still talking about strikes again in the future. And that will make some of them really angry.
And I can appreciate how it sounds like that. So I think just a few things to clarify. We hear about this 22% figure, but all doctors were voting on was an additional 4.05%. As you talked about, the other uplifts have already been awarded. And those people who've been waiting for such a long time, who have unfortunately had care disrupted because of strike action, which I always apologise about, that won't change. The disruption to care outside of strikes won't change until we can get enough of a workforce to bring down our waiting list. But as that's still rising, we haven't tackled the problem. And this pay offer is a step towards tackling that problem, but the problem still needs to be resolved.
Is there any concern that the pay rise for junior doctors might affect any potential pay rises for other NHS staff?
If you mean that it takes away from other NHS staff, then there's no reason that it should. Spending in health on anything is a political choice. Our nursing colleagues, our other colleagues who help run hospitals, who help run primary care, also deserve fair pay, have also seen pay cuts to similar degrees as us over the last 15 years. And I would support in each and every one of them to fight for their own pay restoration if that's what they want to do.
But it potentially makes it awkward in a hospital, doesn't it, if you've got a junior doctor who everybody knows is getting a 22% rise and you've got a porter or a nurse who's getting nothing like as much in an increase.
Not at all. I was working nights over the weekend and there was a huge sense of camaraderie between all professions because we've all undergone the brunt of the public sector pay freeze, and we're all working towards the same goal, to try and make hospitals a great place so that we can deliver high-quality healthcare. We each have our own role within that. And so if there's things that we can do to help build each other up, then I'm all for that.
I know that you've been negotiating for a long, long time. In your work with the government, in those discussions, do you know, is this increase fully funded, or is there a possibility that there might be cuts in services in order to fund it?
To my understanding, it is fully funded, but that, again, is a government's choice. That's a political choice that they have to make. I don't see any reason why it can't be fully funded. And ultimately, we need to think about where do we see the best use of our resources. I think we've just seen from Lord Darcy's report that there's a huge potential economic loss because of the increasing number of people on our who are off sick because of a rising waiting list. And over a similar period of time, where 4 million people might be off sick in 2029, we've heard of other reports saying that could lead to a possible £70 billion of lost economic revenue. We know that investing in health is a fiscal multiplier. We need to start investing in our workforce so that we can start building back up the country again.
Wes Streeting and the Prime Minister have been talking about reform of the NHS as well. Are they going to say, right, you've had your money, or a lot of the money you wanted, now you're going to have to do more to help us, maybe working longer hours, different hours, weekends, that kind of thing? Is it payback time?
So I don't think there's been conversations about how our working hours are planned out, although we're not...
That wasn't part of the negotiation.
We're open to discuss anything. We've always been open to discuss reforms because... funnily enough, doctors are very keen for reforms. We're still working with bleep systems, where I think the NHS has 10% of the world's pager systems. Old, outdated systems every single day, making our work inefficient. We're happy to bring in advancements for that to help us be more effective.
One thing that is changing is the change from being called junior doctors to resident doctors. Why is that so important?
Junior denotes many things, and I think people get the wrong impression and think sometimes we're students, sometimes we're not fully qualified. And junior, as will be known until tomorrow, can represent any doctor from their year one of graduating, after 5 to 6 years of university, all the way up to 10+ years in a specialty. These are people who might be doing cardiac surgery, brain surgery, seeing patients in complex cancer clinics, for example. The work they're doing is anything but junior. And so resident doctor helps denote their expertise.
Dr Vivek Trivedi, thank you very much indeed for coming in. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's time for sport now. John's here.
Thanks both. Good morning. The Champions League is back tonight. Liverpool face AC Milan, while Aston Villa make their return to the competition for the first time in more than 40 years as they face Swiss side Young Boys. It will be a poignant night. Following the death of former striker Gary Shaw at the age of 63, he played a big part in helping Villa lift the European Cup back in 1982, whilst also helping Villa to win the league title a year before. Well, tributes have come from former Aston Villa striker Stan Collymore, who said, "I wanted to play football because of you. I love Villa because of you. You were a real-life superhero. You made a little boy dream big, fall in love with you, our club, and the beautiful game. You were my hero on the pitch, but most importantly, my hero off it. The loveliest of men, rest in peace." Sentiments echoed by fellow former Villa striker Paul Merson as well, who, of course, is donning the sequins on Strictly. This year, he said, "Just got out of the dance studio to hear the devastating news about Gary Shaw. What a player and a better person. One of my all-time favourite Villa players. R.I.P." Well, Villa having won it in 1982 with this famous Peter Wythe goal against Bayern Munich, who they in fact play in their next Champions League match. Villa were the defending champions the following season, but that would be their last ever appearance in the competition until now, until tonight. And they're determined they're not just there this time to make up the numbers.
We've got some experience from Europe last year, and it's going to be even tougher this year, being in the biggest European competition, club competition then. Yeah, we're going to have to do even better than what we did last year, and missing out on the final last year was a tough experience, but I think a good one for the group to understand what we have to do better this year, and hopefully we can learn from that.
Well, the Stars were out in force last night, not for a Champions League match or a Premier League match. This, in fact, was a game in the third tier of English football, but one they are calling the Hollywood Derby. Birmingham City, co-owned by NFL star Tom Brady, watching there with David Beckham, saw his side take on Wrexham, who, of course, are owned by Rob McElhenney. There he was, and Ryan Gosling. In League One, it was a top-of-the-table clash, 1-1 by City, 3-1 to leave Brady the happier of the owners. An amazing mix of famous faces last night in this corner of Birmingham. England's all-time leading Test wicket-taker James Anderson could be heading to America to continue his career. He is a surprise target for Major League Cricket, with senior figures at least one team understood to be interested in signing the bowler, who said last month that he wouldn't rule out a return to white ball cricket. The head of World Athletics, Lord Coe, has been named as one of the confirmed candidates to become the next president of the International Olympic Committee. He's one of 7 people under consideration to succeed Thomas Bach, who will step down next year. Coe, a 2-time Olympic champion, is up against the likes of Juan Antonio Samaranch Jr., whose father was the IOC president for 21 years. The election will take place in March next year. We were expecting the news yesterday, but we're expecting it today that Glasgow will be announced as the hosts of the Commonwealth Games in 2026. The Scottish Government are understood to be on the verge of agreeing that deal to host the events, which were supposed to take place in Victoria in Australia, but the state pulling out last year because of rising costs. And footballers stepping into the world of fashion. The next one to do that is Declan Rice, the Arsenal midfielder and one of the most expensive players on the planet, and now probably wearing the clothes to match that price tag, as you can imagine, as he stepped out for London Fashion Week at his home ground, the Emirates Stadium, as the pitch was turned into a catwalk come runway. What do you make of the outfit? Navy suit there with an interesting sort of tie come scarf to knit it all together. Looks very serious about it. He's got his game face on.
He really does. Right. I think he's enjoying it.
Do you?
Yeah,
you do, I'm sure.
He's like strutting. He looks every bit confident.
No,
yeah,
he's
good.
He's definitely enjoying it.
I
like it.
Do it with purpose. Do it with meaning.
Wear what you want.
He did that.
Do it with boots on.
Yeah. Not red, though. You know, I'm sure he might have wanted to wear red, Arsenal's colours.
John, thank you.
It promised the trip of a lifetime to see the wreck of the Titanic on the seabed. But last year, a dive by OceanGate's Titan submersible went tragically wrong, killing all 5 people on board.
Well, now the US Coast Guard's investigation into the disaster is underway, and it's being watched very closely by a man from Merseyside. His name is Graham Padden. He had booked a place on that ill-fated trip, but he missed out at the last minute. He's been talking to our reporter, Phil Conliffe.
Rescue teams are entering another critical day of searching for the tourist submarine that went missing near the wreck of the Titanic.
I followed the story around the clock virtually. You know, I was constantly looking at my phone, constantly looking for pieces. But I kind of knew myself from understanding the situation that they were in, that there wasn't much hope.
Graham Padden's interest in the fate of the stricken Titan sub ran deeper than most. Had events taken a different turn, he would have been among the passengers being searched for in the icy waters of the North Atlantic.
Checked the dates, yeah, everything added up. That was the voyage that I was meant to be on.
Graham had secured his place following phone conversations with OceanGate's mission director, Kyle Bingham. He liked the fact that Graham was Liverpudlian and had spent lots of time at sea.
So, yeah, I first got interested in the Titanic story because I went to work on a famous Cunarder called the QE2, which used to sail from Southampton to New York. So we regularly passed over the spot just off the coast of Newfoundland where Titanic went down. And if you look at the people that died on the Titanic, you know, a huge majority of them were sailors from Liverpool. So we had that link. I never had any safety concerns, no, because I knew that the sub, Titan, had done many voyages before. And I was used to working inside a diving bell, which worked under, you know, nowhere near the same type of pressure. But I was aware that these vessels were tested impeccably. And every time it'd done a voyage, it was tested again.
The sticking point was money. Customers had to raise £250,000, and when it became apparent that he was only able to raise half that, Graham lost his place to tourists with deeper pockets. Among the final crew list, the billionaire businessman Shahzada Dawood and his son Suleiman.
Good morning. It's Friday, the 23rd of June. Tributes are being paid to 5 men who died on board the Titan submersible after it imploded near the wreck of the Titanic.
So I checked my messages. There it was from my sons. Dad, you never guess. Have you seen this? Look what happened to that sub, Dad. That could have been you on there. Don't you realise? You know, that could have been you.
The US Coast Guard has now begun a 2-week inquiry into the events of June 2023 and what went wrong. For the first time, this image of the sub on the seabed after it had imploded has been shown to the hearing.
It hasn't put me off at all going back on if I got the opportunities again. I'm still spiritually drawn to the Titanic, to the wreck, to all the Liverpool sailors that are down there, because it is a grave. Coming down out of the murky depths, seeing the masts, seeing the forecastle, seeing the forecastle. Not many people have done that, so I wouldn't want to pass up that moment.
Phil Conliffe, BBC News.
Incredible story.
What a mixture of emotions here,
Yeah.
especially the investigations underway at the moment and the publicity around it. It's 7:45.
Matt has the weather for us. Morning, Matt.
Good morning, both. Good morning to you as well. Lovely start out there at the moment here in the UK for most. Here's the sunrise. Nicely popped up now in Gosport in Hampshire, and it's been a similar start for many areas. Just a little bit of cloud overhead, a few mist and fog patches as well. But for all intents and purposes, vast majority of you, it's a dry, reasonably sunny day once again. And after a chilly start, it will warm up nicely. The bigger picture, though, shows that focus for rainfall in Europe now pushes down towards Italy over the next few days. But we're under this big area of high pressure. That's what's keeping things largely dry. Just on the fringes of it, though, through the night into the morning, north and west Scotland, Northern Ireland, a lot more cloud here. Some patchy light rain or drizzle. That will ease. The cloud will thin and break. Much milder start, but also breezier. Bit of a breeze. East Anglia in the southeast will continue to feed in more cloud than yesterday, but elsewhere, other than some high cloud around, it's a sunny day and a warmer day than yesterday as well. Temperatures up by a couple of degrees, maybe up to around 23 Celsius in the north of Scotland, 22 to the west of Northern Ireland, 21 or 22 towards the southeast of England. Now, as we go through this evening and overnight, the cloud in northern Scotland continues to thin and break. But we'll see low cloud develop a bit more widely across parts of central eastern England and eastern Wales into tomorrow morning, stopping the temperatures dropping as much as they did this morning. But for tomorrow morning, chilliest weather, northern England, southern Scotland, North Wales. It's here where there's also a chance of some mist and fog patches, temperatures around 4 or 5 degrees for some. So into Wednesday. A lot more cloud to begin with across parts of Wales, central eastern England. A lot of that misty low cloud will thin and break. Sunny spells developing widely. Just some could still lap on to some North Sea coasts and a bit cooler along some North Sea coasts with the onshore breeze. But with much more sunshine further north, even warmer still, 24 or 25 degrees possible across parts of northern Scotland in particular. And then as we go through into Thursday, we've got some low cloud again drifting its way in to begin with, and a greater chance of some lingering low cloud around some of these North Sea coasts, but a dry, sunny day again for the vast majority. Temperatures highest probably towards the southeast corner, dropping a little bit across Scotland and Northern Ireland, but could still hit 22 in the far west. But it's beyond that, we start to see some changes through Friday and into the weekend. We see low pressure gradually developing from the south. It's going to be slow progress as things go through the end of the week. Friday, still a lot of dry weather around, but increased cloud for England and Wales, 1 or 2 showers, maybe the odd rumble of thunder. A greater chance, though, more widely of some showers and thunderstorms developing as we go into Saturday and Sunday. Temperatures dropping a little bit, but in the sunnier moments, it will still feel warm. So that's what's happening here in the UK. We've been talking, of course, by the flooding in Europe, but flip end of this scale has been happening in Portugal. Let me take you to what's been happening there. Here you can see we've got this here. This is not cloud. If I zoom in a little bit further, this is smoke from wildfires burning across parts of Portugal. They all fired up yesterday under strong winds, and this is what it looked like from the ground. Terrifying scenes for some as those fires expanded and blown along by strong winds across parts of western Portugal in particular. 2 have already been killed. Many firefighters have been injured, and the country has asked the European Union for extra help in water fighting aircraft to come out and dampen some of those fires down. But with strong winds continuing, the risk, though, will still remain over the next few days. Back to you both.
That smoke, Matt, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, pictures are incredible.
Apocalyptic scenes. Very scary indeed.
Yeah.
OK, Matt, thank you for now.
It is 7:49 exactly. Sandy Toksvig is one of Britain's most loved and probably hardest working writers and comedians. From hosting long-running radio shows and TV hits like QI and Bake Off to her campaign work and writing over 20 books.
And now she's preparing to get back on the road to celebrate the publication of her latest novel, which is called Friends of Dorothy, and she's here to tell us all about it. Good morning.
It's so nice to be here. We were just commenting, the sofa's got no more comfortable, has it?
It's worse.
I know.
Sorry about that.
It's not meant to be a pleasant experience.
We will try to make it as comfortable for you being on it as we can.
It's lovely to see you.
Tell us about Dorothy.
So I wanted to write a book where I didn't have to do any research and it just made you laugh out loud. And I think I've achieved it because a friend was reading it on a train and said it needed to come with a volume control because she laughed out loud. It's the story of a woman called Dorothy, who's a 79-year-old cantankerous old so-and-so, foul-mouthed, full of energy. She sells her house to a young lesbian couple, and on the day they move in, she fails to move out. And it turns out, legally, it's very difficult to get rid of somebody. if they have decided not to leave when they sell you their house.
Now, you said this is a book you didn't have to do any research about. I'm now slightly worried.
You're a squatter.
I am a squatter. Yes, I am that old lady. It's about families that we create, the families that we make for ourselves, you know, the ones you have with your friends or the ones you have with your colleagues. So what I refer to as the logical family and not the biological family. And hopefully it's funny and touching at the same time.
Is Dorothy based on anyone in particular?
So the truth is that I know a lot of feisty old women. One of my great friends is the glorious actress Sheila Hancock. And I've known Sheila since I was 18 and I'm now 66, so that's a very long-standing friendship. And don't mess with her. So it's not her, because she's not foul-mouthed in any way, Sheila. It's not her, but I know many women who you just think, you're fantastic, and you continue to be fantastic in your 80s and 90s.
I just have to tell you that for people at home who are watching, this sofa might not be very comfortable, but actually the sofa behind us there, that's actually Dorothy's sofa.
It is. It's entirely based on this sofa.
3 pairs of shoes.
Yeah. So it's the 3 people who end up sharing a house together. Yeah.
And you talk about your logical family, the kind of the family that you grow into rather than maybe the family that you're born with. And that's something that lots of people, it's a reality that lots of people are living nowadays.
Well, I think that's true. So we used to talk about the typical family, which was the mum and the dad and the 2 kids. About 5% of people actually live in that situation. Most people have divorced families or single parents or many, many different kinds of families. And I don't know about you, but particularly after lockdown, my friends, I miss them so much. And since lockdown, I find that we now say, I love you to each other in the way that you would to a family member. And we didn't used to say it to each other. And I really want to value those relationships because I think they're the thing that keep us going, really, in many instances.
Yeah, we were talking last week about the COVID inquiry and about the medical response to it. But a lot of people got in touch then saying those years affected my mindset, my lifestyle,
absolutely,
in a way that I can never really explain. Is that part of what you wanted to do with this?
It is part of that. I want to celebrate it. I want to celebrate, you know, our neighbours and our community. I'm very lucky to live in a small village in the country, and the people in the community and the people that I work with, we're busy together as a community restoring 40 acres of ancient woodland. And those moments when we're together on a Sunday and laughing and drinking coffee in the woods, those are so important to me, and that has become family to me in the same way as I'm delighted when my blood family get together.
I heard you on the radio yesterday, on Radio 4, talking about having been out with a chainsaw at the weekend.
Don't mess with me, darling. Do not mess
I wouldn't dare anyway, but I
am that feisty old lady. Do you know what it was? So every time I called somebody out with a chainsaw to do something, it was £500, and I thought, it can't be that difficult. Boys can do it, so surely I can do it. And I got myself a chainsaw, and I love it in a slightly worrying way. I think it's marvellous.
What were you doing with the chainsaw, Sandy?
So one of the problems with ancient woodland, it's not been looked after for generations. This particular plot, probably about 4 generations, and it's choking with holly. And holly can grow, to the size of a large tree trunk, and we're clearing it. And when you watch the sunlight come down onto the forest floor for the first time in over 100 years, it's fantastic. In just 2 years, we've doubled the number of native bluebells in the woods. And honestly, it makes you feel thrilled. It's like one of the best things that I do.
I suppose the risk of enjoying using the chainsaw is that you get a bit overzealous with it and you cut down a bit too much.
No. I promise you there is an absolute
deforestation.
There is a plan. We have failed to look after our woodlands for a very long time, and they were always managed. But we've got about 2.5% of our ancient woodland left, and of that 2.5%, about 7% is in good condition. And I think we must save it because it's good for the soul.
Sandy, I know you still work incredibly hard, working all the time, touring, writing, all of this, but you sound to me like you might have found a balance.
Yeah, I think that's probably true, actually, darling. My beautiful wife, I've been married 18 years, and I'm crazy about her. So just last night I was in Manchester and we didn't see each other. We can't wait to have dinner together tonight. It's just slightly pathetic. And moving into the woods, listening to the owls at night and the dark and watching the bats flying. Yeah, it's good for you. But the wonderful thing is, can I just say, it's available to anybody in this country. We have some amazing open spaces and anybody can volunteer. You can work with the Woodland Trust, for example, who I work with. There's just lots of things you can do, and I recommend it to everybody because literally being grounded is good for you. It makes you feel good.
Does it make you feel good to be out with audiences face to face as well when you're talking about the book? Is that something else that you wanted to?
I mean, that's the other thing.
Reassert after the
absolutely
pandemic?
wanted to do that. So we're doing this show. Everybody who comes and buys a ticket gets a free copy of the book, so that you can carry on being entertained, hopefully at home. When you get into a live audience, a very strange thing happens. Your heart rate starts to synchronize with everybody in the building, and you become calmer. You are 30 times more likely to laugh if you are in an audience with other people. So come, relax, have a laugh. And the other thing is, I do half an hour where the audience can ask me anything, and believe me, they do.
Go on. What's the worst one?
Well, I had a woman in Bradford ask me what my bra size was, and I couldn't remember, so she had to come up and have a look. So I'm just saying... yeah, why not? You know, okay. I'm not shy. Actually, I still can't remember. If you want to have a look at it. I don't know if they do that on this show. I don't know if that's a thing.
Probably, yes. We do everything on this show. It's fine.
But we missed each other during lockdown, and there's a thing of looking each other in the face and saying, hello, talk to me. I had an old guy said, has anybody got an unusual job? And he put his hand up and he said, I'm the last handmade bicycle maker in Britain. Well, that's quite interesting, isn't it? So he chatted for 5 minutes. I said, thank you very much. And I moved on to the next question. He came down to the stage, he walked all the way down, he banged on the stage and said, I hadn't finished. I went, OK. So I got a cup of tea and a chair, and he did another 10 minutes. And you just think, well, how marvellous is that? It's great.
Oh, it's marvellous to have you here. And I tell you what, it's timely as well, because we were talking this morning, we've got a lovely story we're going to play a bit later, about a lady who's found her long-lost family in Australia, and she's finally been reunited with her siblings. But it's a reminder that it's not just genetics as well with family. From what you were saying, it's that logical as well as biological family as well.
Yeah, and it matters, and I think we should celebrate it.
Oh, I couldn't agree more, Sandy. Thank you very much. And it's nice to all be together.
It's
to have you here face to face on our not very comfortable sofa.
Maybe use your chainsaw on the sofa. We can,
don't tempt me.
See you soon. Thank you. Sandy's new book, Friends of Dorothy, it's released next week.
Time now to get the news, the travel and the weather where you are.
A very good morning. Welcome to BBC London. I'm Thomas McGill. Plans to pedestrianise Oxford Street have again been proposed by London's mayor. Previous schemes have been blocked, but this time Sadiq Khan says he has the backing of the government, which will designate a mayor's development area. He hopes the project will make Oxford Street the leading retail destination in the world. And there will be more on this across the morning on BBC Radio London. Now, urgent blood samples at a London hospital could soon be delivered by drones. Medics at Guy's and St Thomas's NHS Foundation Trust will run a pilot scheme where drones will be used to courier blood samples between both hospitals. The scheme starts this autumn and is expected to last 6 months. OK, let's take a look at how the tube is running so far this morning. The overground is partly suspended between New Cross Gate and Crystal Palace and West Croydon, and there's minor delays there on the Elizabeth line, but otherwise a good service across the rest of the network. And that takes us to the weather. A dry day ahead for all of us with some patchy cloud, but mostly sunny with a top temperature, as you can see there, of 21 degrees. Very pleasant indeed. That's it from me. There's more on the BBC News app and on BBC Radio London across this morning. I'll be back in half an hour. Good morning.
Strictly Come Dancing continues Saturday at 7 on BBC One and iPlayer.
Good morning. Welcome to Breakfast with John Kay.